Hello and welcome to this Black Talk Radio News commentary. My name is Scotty Reed. I'm broadcasting from behind the enemy lines of USA Inc. I want to talk about during this particular episode of BTR News is I want to just get involved in the gun violence debate. Now, I have been thinking about this for quite some time over the years, every once in a while, whenever there's what they call a mass shooting, we had this debate and these calls for more gun control or bans on assault weapons. And to be honest with you, I'm kind of a moderate when it comes to gun control. Do I think there should be background checks? Of course. Do I think they should close loopholes at these what they call them gun shows and stuff like that? Yes, of course. I believe in those common sense things. I also think, it's good that, let's say, for example, a victim of domestic violence or someone who has been threatened by their intimate partner and they know their intimate partner owns weapons and they go and they to a judge, a magistrate, and their issue domestic violence order. I think that that person should be forced to surrender their guns until they get a hearing. And if that order is granted, then I don't think they should get those weapons back without further investigation and putting that person through perhaps some kind of uh, determination, or what would they call it, mental evaluation in terms of their gun ownership and the threats that they have made. I don't believe you should have any kind of rights that you're going to abuse. If you own weapons and you threatening to shoot people, then to me, you forfeit your right to own that weapon, at least for a time. But there's a lot of hyperbolic language that's being used in this debate, calling, a certain type of rifle an assault rifle, or as an ex-FBI agent I heard in a debate, it was on one of the news shows, I don't recall which, but she was saying these are weapons of war. So lots of hyperbolic language. So I'm going to pull up a couple of things for those that's watching the video. But I do understand some of you are just watching the audio, but of course I will be reading some of the data for you. So the first page that I want to go to is on our social media website that the Black Talk Media set up, btrcommunity.com, where I posted an image after I heard, and it's not the first time, but when I heard that FBI agent trying to clown this dude like he doesn't know what a weapon of war is. All weapons are weapons of war, not just an AR-15 or any other similar style semi-automatic rifles. All weapons can be considered weapons of war. And I spent about 6 years in the United States military, and I have qualified. I had to qualify on a number of weapons, from the M60 to the M16A2 to also a handgun. Also the M203 grenade launcher, which attaches to the M16A2. But I just decided to pull up weapons of war used during the Vietnam War. And for those that's watching the video, as you can see, you have a K-bar knife, which is considered a weapon of war. It's used during wartime on a battlefield. There's a M1911 handgun. Mostly officers in the military carry handguns. Then you had the M3A1 with a long, it looks like magazine, but that's probably automatic weapon. Then you got the M203, which I, carried during the Gulf War on my M16A2. Then you got the M79 grenade launcher. Then you got the M60, which is fully automatic machine gun. But then you got the M40, which is a single shot rifle. Okay. Then you got the M21, which is a single shot rifle, but it has a magazine. And then you have the M16A1, which was issued first within the use during the Vietnam War. And then you have the Ithaca M37, which is a pump action shotgun. So this is what I'm talking about, the hyperbole or the hyperbolic language that's being used in this gun debate. And I don't think that, is particularly helpful, because those of us who know guns know how absurd it is to claim that just because a certain rifle looks a certain kind of way, that it's an assault weapon. All weapons are used to assault people. Okay. And then all these weapons, including handguns, are used by the military on the battlefield, from single shot rifles to handguns. So that language is just not helpful. Now, I want to jump into some of the data. I actually joined this website, statista.com. They have different subscriptions that you can get. But I came across, these a couple of days ago, I came across this website when I just simply Googled mass shootings. And so it talks about the number of mass shootings in the United States between 1982 and March 2021. Okay, and as you can see here, it says as of March 17, there were 2 mass shootings in the United States in 2021. This is compared to 1 mass shooting in 1982 and 1 in 2000 and 12 mass shootings in 2018. It talks about school shootings. The United States sees the most school shootings in the world. Some motivations for school shootings include depression, seeking revenge because of bullying, which is a huge issue, and there it is, bullying. As a result of the large amount of school shootings, gun control has become a central topic in U.S. politics. This widespread problem happens across the United States. However, California saw the highest number of K-12 school shootings in the United States since 1970. However, the deadliest school shooting as of March 2021 was the Virginia Tech massacre in 2007. This tragedy left 33 dead and 17 injured. All right, so other statistics that I came across, they're not on this particular page, it'll be on another page, but most of these shootings, let's pull up a calculator. Let's see if I can just pull up a calculator real quick and get the total number of shootings, because I don't see it here, from 1982 to 2001. So let's see, we got 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus 2 plus 1 plus, that's 5, that's 9. There's another 3. There's 5. There's 2. There's 2. I'm combining some of the years. Let me see, there's 5, 9 again, okay, plus. Then we have, let me see, 7. Actually, that's 8, so I'll do a plus 1. Let's see what we have here. Okay, we got 7 plus 5 plus 4 plus 7 plus 6 plus 11 plus 12 plus 10 plus 2 plus 2. And that comes out to 121 total mass shootings. And so that would be, let me clear that, that would be 2001 minus 1982 in 19 years. Let's make sure I did that right. Okay, let's make sure I got that math correct. So that will be 2021 minus 1982, 39 years. I thought that was wrong because I had actually been posting about this on Facebook. So in 39 years, we've had a little over 120 mass shootings. That's not a whole lot, people, when you consider that there are millions of gun owners in the United States. So let's assume that these, 120 something mass shootings were done by 120 something individuals. Again, considering that millions of people, yours included, own guns in this country, whether they're assault rifles, whether they're hunting rifles, because again, all weapons are assault weapons if I'm gonna use it to kill somebody, handguns and what have you. So again, the media, we see these stories on the media and we get in our emotions because we don't want to see kids get killed in school and what have you. And we don't want to see all those people that were gunned down by that Las Vegas shooter. We don't want to see those instances happen ever. But and when you put it in terms of how many people actually have these weapons, the vast majority of them, I would say less than 0.5% of these gun owners are committing what they're calling mass shootings. All right, so another statistic that I want to look at. Now, first, let me back up because I try to be thorough in my research. So this nonprofit group called everytownresearch.org, and they take donations, are, I believe, inflating numbers. Okay, I believe they're inflating their numbers. I think they're counting things twice. I think earlier when I was reading it yesterday, I believe they were saying that their sources are law enforcement and news media reports. So they try to say, they're saying between 2009 and 2021 that there were, how many shootings? Something like 200. I think they said 200 and something. Look, since 2009, there have been 246 mass shootings in the United States, resulting in 1,400 people shot and killed and 950 shot and wounded. I believe that they are exaggerating that number. How do you get from 2009 to what's this date, to 2019, 10 years, 246 mass shootings? And then other websites that were citing law enforcement, and I would imagine every mass shooting was reported to law enforcement. How do we get 200 and something from every town to only 120 something in 39 years? Something isn't adding up. And people talk about the nonprofit industrial complex where people start these organizations and they're not really trying to solve the problem. They're just trying to, bring in revenue to pay salaries and what have you. And they may overestimate a problem. And that's what it seems like everytownresearch.org is doing. But the sources also come from Mother Jones and law enforcement. All right, so also, now let me go to another graph. Number of mass shootings in the United States between 1982 and March 2021 by state. California has the most. Obviously, it would, since you have more people in California. But then you got Florida 12, Texas 11, Washington 7, Colorado 7, Wisconsin 5. Again, this is in 39 years. Pennsylvania 5, Illinois 4, New York 4, Ohio 4, Connecticut 3, Georgia 3, Maryland 3, Tennessee, Tennessee, Virginia, Michigan, Oregon, Nevada, South Carolina all had 2, Minnesota 2, North Carolina 2, Kentucky 2, Missouri 2, Kansas, Louisiana, Utah, Massachusetts, Hawaii, DC, Arkansas, Arizona, Mississippi, Iowa, Nebraska, Oklahoma, and New Jersey all had 1 so-called mass shooting. All right. And this is in 39 years total, 1982 and March 2021 by state. Again, we're not finding over 200 mass shootings being listed by Statista. Okay. So let me just read some of the summary there. As of March 2021, California had the most mass shootings in the United States with 20 total shootings since 1982. The source defines a mass shooting as a shooting where 4 or more people were killed. Let me see. Mass shootings in the United States are disturbingly common. And see, I don't know if I would call them all that common. You know, not with those numbers. Obviously, one is one too many. But when we start using, terms that are subjective, I wouldn't find that number 121 shootings in 39 years as a common occurrence. Is it happening too much for my taste? Yes. Is it common? No. No, it's not. All right. So let me then jump to now. Let me go to back to my photo. This M16A1. Back then it was fully automatic. The A2, then you could switch from fully automatic to 3-round burst. That's where one trigger pull, 3 rounds fire. Instead of fully automatic, they did that to save ammunition. So you just don't empty your clip and then you're out of ammunition and the enemy is advancing on you. And then it can also switch to a single shot. Now, a lot of people, like the AR-15 is modeled after the M16. And they think that just cause it looks like that's what the same thing the military has. No, it's not. But again, I digress, because all weapons used to kill people are assault weapons. All weapons made, including knives, can be considered weapons of war. So I just don't care to get into the hyperbolic language. Now, again, most of the focus has always been on those rifles, semi-automatic rifles, those that look like the M16, but it's not the M16, but the AR-15 and other models that they put these attachments on them to make them look all bad ass, as they say. But they're still no different than a single shot rifle, okay? The only difference would be the caliber of bullets that they shoot. And again, as this next graph shows, most of the weapons used in mass shootings in the United States in 39 years between 1982 and March 2021 by number of weapons and incidents. Most of the weapons used in mass shootings are, guess what? Handguns. Okay. So it's not the long rifles, the AR-15s that is always the focus of these political gun bans and being called assault weapons and what have you. Most mass shootings, again, are done with handguns. Okay. Here you have number of weapons used. You have 143 different handguns used in 39 years in 95 incidents, okay? 95 incidents of mass shootings, 143 different weapons, different types of handguns were used. So that's probably how you account for that a person had more than one handgun. All right, then you get the rifles, number of weapons used, 56 different types of rifles. Number of incidents, 48 incidents, again, in 39 years. That's what, about 1.5 per year, 1.2, 1.3 per year, averages out to. Then you got shotguns, also used in mass shootings. Number of weapons used, 30 different brands, 30 different types of shotguns were used in 26 different incidents. So when you look at the data and you get out of your emotions and what have you, it gives you a more accurate portrait of the issue of mass shootings in this country. Now, I also read a report, I don't have that one pulled up, that in 2020, they are blaming it on the pandemic, but in 2020, I did not check for other sources, I just read, so forgive me, take it with a grain of salt, but I read that 20,000 people were killed in the United States in 2020. Nice round number, 20,000 people. Those were not mass shootings, okay? They were not mass shootings. And so again, I'm looking for solutions that actually solve, not looking for hyperbolic language. I'm not looking for gun bans that are nothing but a temporary band-aid to make people feel like something's being done and we're not addressing the underlying issues. Well, you know, we're not. Well, again, in the school shootings, bullying and getting revenge on people for bullying you is an issue, you know, and also, you know, kids killing themselves because of bullying. But that's a different issue altogether. So guns used in mass shootings in the US 1982 through 2021. Handguns are the most common weapon type used in mass shootings in the United States, with a total of 143 different handguns being used in 95 incidents between 1982 and March 2021. These figures are calculated from a total of 121 reported cases over this period, meaning handguns are involved in about 78% of mass shootings. So the involvement of semi-automatic rifles in mass shootings, that's the so-called assault rifle. Owing to their use in several high-profile mass shootings, there has been much public discussion over suitability or necessity of assault weapons for the purpose of self-defense. While any definition of assault weapon is contentious, that's what I was saying earlier, all weapons are assault weapons. All weapons have been used, all weapon types have been used on a battlefield and are weapons of war, including knives and bayonets. So semi-automatic rifles are generally the main focus of debates around this issue. Since 1985, there has been a known total of 47 mass shootings involving rifles, mostly semi-automatics. This figure is underreported, though, as it excludes the multiple semi-automatic and fully automatic rifles used in the 2017 Las Vegas Strip massacre, the worst mass shooting in U.S. history. Now, let me back up right there. He did not have a fully automatic rifle. He had a bump stock, and I just read that an appeals court in the United States ruled that a bump stock does not turn a weapon into a fully automatic weapon. I disagree with that. A bump stock causes a semi-automatic rifle to imitate the behavior or to effectively act like a fully automatic rifle, as it's using the energy from the recoil to cause the gun or your trigger. You just hold your trigger finger there, and then that bump stock is causing the rifle to keep bumping up against your finger and repeatedly firing, giving you the effect of a fully automatic weapon. I think those should be banned. I don't think that we should have those for the general public, even though it's only been used in one incident. You know, again, I'm a moderate. I try to be a common sense type person, but at the same time, I do not give in to fear mongering and media hype and all of that. I'm looking for solutions that actually solve the problem. And one of the problems that I want to briefly discuss as I get ready to wrap this up is the fact that I don't think you can pass any law to stop them. I think you can do things to reduce it. And one of the things I was talking about on Facebook today, and also on btrcommunity.com, I was saying, you know, if we quit using all this hyperbolic language and trying to scare people and what have you, and say these things that aren't really true, then we might be able to find some compromise, some common ground and what have you. And one of the ideals that I had was that perhaps we should ban open carry of these long guns, these semi-automatic rifles in the United States, that we should ban open carry. That means you couldn't carry it into a store. You can't carry it onto a business premises. You can't walk down the street, a public street, with one of those weapons. And if open carry of those weapons was banned, then guess what? When we see somebody with them, then we're immediately alerted. Oh man, he's not supposed to have that out in the open like that. I think that you should be allowed to only transport those rifles in your vehicle if you're going to a gun range or if you're on your own private property. And I also think businesses, and I'm not sure right now whether or not they have the right to ban weapons, period, from their premises. That includes the parking lot as well as inside the store. Okay. So I think because of, if you look at the copycat, the person who wanted to be a copycat shooter in Atlanta, who was seen going into a bathroom with a long gun. It did look like an AR-15, but he also had a shotgun as well. And he had a bag full of handguns and ammunition. And he was seen going into the bathroom of that grocery store by another customer, who then quickly alerted authorities. And then the authorities were able to respond in time to stop him from shooting anyone. So if open carry of these long guns were banned from the public and only allowed to be transported in your vehicle when you're going to a gun range or you're going on a hunting in the woods or on private property, then I think that could help reduce these shootings, in addition, to the things I mentioned at the top of this episode. So that's all I have for you, man. Don't believe the hype. Do your research. I think that, there are some common sense things that we can do. But the last thing I'll say is, I also believe it's a spiritual problem. For those that don't believe in God, we got a lot of atheists here in the United States who don't believe in God, who don't believe in a higher power. And they, don't believe in the spiritual principle of reaping and sowing, all right, or sowing and reaping. When you look at the violence that the United States has done all over the world and continues to do, one might say in a spiritual sense that all of these shootings are you just reaping what you have sown, the violence you have sown all around the world, okay? And another thing that I will say is that as a Black person, and knowing the history of violence in this country against non-white people, Black people, indigenous people, Mexican people, people from Mexico, the violence that has been perpetrated against us, against Asians in the 200 plus year history of the United States, that a person of color who does not think that they need to be armed in this country, who thinks that what has happened in the past can't happen again, because we also know the police was involved, the military was involved in perpetrating all this violence against us. If you think it can't happen again, especially after January the 6th, and these people who are talking online, talking about how they want to start another civil war, you'll be a fool to be unarmed behind these enemy lines. All right. So I just want people to use common sense. All right. This has been Scotty Reed with a Black Talk Radio news commentary. Please support the production of independent media. You can make a tax-deductible donation to the nonprofit Black Talk Media Project by going to blacktalkradionetwork.com. Another way that you can support us and join a safe digital space for Black folks, because we always getting kicked off these other platforms, join btrcommunity.com for just $24 a year subscription. Really, we need y'all help to stay online and to continue to do what we've been doing for 13 years. All right, peace and blessings to all.